Do you want some more money, magic, and miracles in your life? Well, I do, and I'll bet you do too. And my guest on today's live podcast, if you're watching the replay, welcome. We went live with this, and I have a very special guest on who is going to talk to us about all of those things. So you want to stay tuned for this video. Welcome to my channel. This is the Charmed Life podcast live streaming right here on YouTube and many other platforms. And of course, you can hear the audio version of this on my podcast. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast by looking for Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. That's me. I'm your host here. I am a spiritual teacher, a transpersonal hypnotherapist. I'm an intuitive, a channel, and I'm here to help you to live your best life and be on your highest spiritual path. Those two things are correlated, y'all. They really, really are. And that's what we talk about here, along with magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I have a very special guest on today, and she is going to talk to us about money, magic, and miracles. This is Andrea Donnelly. She is a business mentor, a quantum sound and energy healer, and a money witch. Now, before I bring on Andrea, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I have going on. First of all, today you can find in the comments and in the show notes, if you're listening to this on this day of our, I remember how they used to say, this day of our Lord, but I don't like the word Lord, so I don't. I'll just make fun of it. I have a live meeting going on with my Modern Mystic membership. We are doing a human design workshop where I'll also give some a little bit of mini chart readings all around the motivation in the human design chart. And this community is very beautiful, very supportive. It is your spiritual people. It's only $11 a month, or you could drop into the workshop. So join us there. I also have a couple of other things that you can find in the show notes. Empower to Empath. We're just starting to have monthly live meetings. There's education and meditations in the portal for you already, and a beautiful community that we're connecting on in a private community. So if you want to upgrade your empathic abilities to the superpower that they are, you want to check that out. I'm very excited about this community that we're growing and the way that we're expanding together. And then, of course, I have my Easy Intuition and Meditation 30-day journey. This is a passive product that you can buy. It will be delivered to you each day, curated for you to be able to move along your expansion with your meditation practice and your intuition, your personal intuition. And we are also meeting next week, a live bonus session. So join us for that. You can find all of that in the show notes. And now, without further delay, I'm really excited to have another conscious conversation with this person who has been on my podcast before. And welcome to the show, Andrea. Thank you for coming on again.
Oh my gosh. It is truly my absolute freaking delight and honor to be here with you, Tricia. I mentioned this the last time that we chatted, but you have inspired me for years during what I call my messy times when things were not as smooth and easy for me. I heard you on a podcast, and I have been a clear channel similar to you since I was a child. And, to see other people, other women who found a way to be able to use metaphysical magic, especially at the time I first heard you, I was literally disabled by chronic nerve pain. And I was in a physical position where I needed like hand railings to get out of my bed. I think this was in 2019. Fast forward to now.
That's not very long ago.
It's not very long ago. And I actually heard you the first time. I had started driving from where I lived at the time in New England to a chiropractor. And I had never been like a big podcast person. I had always been more of an audiobook kind of girl. And then I was making this really long commute to see this chiropractor who was really one of the best in the area. And I started listening too, of course, because I had always been like a metaphysical junkie in a lot of ways. And I found a couple of really cool spiritual podcasts. I don't even remember where it was that I heard you interviewed, but I was like, oh my God, another person who communicates with especially the fairy realm, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
forgot that you connect with fairies, and that's
Oh,
what before we got on the session, I was like, "I'm so grateful to the fairies because 'cause they've been nudging me in the right direction today," especially I'm getting chills because I totally forgot that we have that connection. Please keep going.
same, same. Um, so yeah, it's wild because you and I were chatting before we started about, what sort of the energy of right now feels like.
Mhm.
And we're in what I perceive to be a massive individual and collective timeline shift this week. And I think that it's quite frankly sort of knackering all of us. Like my private clients, the people who are in my groups, one of my private clients who has recently lived through the past 2 weeks have literally turned her life upside down. And she was like, it feels like everything is sort of the most good it could be, but also like the most messy. Like, how is this all happening simultaneously? And my guides, who are the fairies, the angels, I channel a group of beings who are my soul family called the Order of Divine Light. And it sounds so grandiose to like even say it, but basically what we do is travel through, no big deal, through all of space and time and help to recalibrate planets like Earth and other places that have fallen out of tune with stewardship and divine order and
Mm.
justice. And you and I are really part of what I would say. I have such crazy chills right now. They've just increased as we keep.
Because you used the word stewardship, and I prayed stewardship this morning, and it's not something I pray every morning. This morning, when I was praying, I said, "Please help me to be a good steward of my home and my land and those who are in my charge." And I don't usually say that. I usually say, "Help me to be a resourceful guardian or guide." I said those as well, but somehow the word stewardship dropped into my prayer today, and that's because of us. We were our higher selves were like, "Hey, you're gonna see it. You're gonna feel it. Do it."
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I love that. I have used the word stewardship. It's always been like a very inspiring word to me. And
Yeah.
I love seeing those, like, sort of how those synchronistic things unfold, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
just the beauty of it. And I love how you stated, too, the way that you set your intention, right? Because
Mhm.
doesn't it feel like more than ever? I mean, it's always been, I think, the call to action for each of us in a human body, having a human experience to really engage in that. I love your word of like guardian,
Mhm.
in guardianship, stewardship, to really find a way to be able to truly be whatever way each of us is meant to be this thing, but to find a way to truly be a bridge between the earth and the sky. You can put a lot of different like words to it, but I really feel like that is when you move in that sense of guardianship and stewardship. It doesn't mean that your life is going to become perfect, because that's not really what being a human, I don't. And I think you know this too, as someone of really incredible spiritual intelligence, things get to be so good. And when we're in a human body, we have days where it's just like, what the F? Like, everything feels like it's falling apart. And I stubbed my toe, and, this stupid thing just happened. And it's the human experience is very complex. And I feel like I'm so glad we're recording this chat this week, because it feels like my guides have been telling me all week that this is a big week for us as a collective.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
think is Mercury retrograding today? I think it started today or yesterday maybe. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm not a great astrologer at all, but
nor am I.
I've learned to pay attention to some of these things because well, and I still sometimes don't because it's not like my primary discipline at all. But Mercury retrograde, when I'm going to start a new something, when I'm going to launch something or start something, I'm like, wait, let's look at the Mercury calendar because I have been burned more than one time. Computer completely burning out, like different things like that.
Oh my
So
God.
but it's good because it helps me to find synchronicity. It helps me to find the field of synchrony by being aware of what we're collectively going to be examining, investigating for those certain times. But
Yeah.
this week, so besides that, potentially that, You said we feels like we're shifting, or we have shifted or jumped timelines. And can you feel into that and tell us what it is that either your guides or you are, expand on that for us?
Yeah, yeah. So I have I perceive our trauma, drama, karma, the energetic complexity that we all carry with us from this, from our ancestors, from other lifetimes. I call that the bag of rocks, your energetic bag of rocks, just to sort of simplify, the vibe. We've all got a bag of rocks, right? And I have been seeing for many years that the more we can fine tune, right, that bag of rocks, and it relates to this thing of the timeline shift that we're moving through this week that I keep being shown. That right as we lighten our load, we make room organically. And I know you see this with your clients and with everyone that is in your world, in your own life. I know it's true in my own. The more I have fine-tuned that, the more I have cleared that, which has been a real journey, the more room I have just organically made, and I witness it in my clients' lives, for that energy of money, magic, and miracles. And one of the things that my guides especially started really showing me in 2020 was that as we moved into particularly this year, that it was so important, kind of the idea of like what was once, I use this as an example a lot, like what was once a subtle knock from the world, right? Of like, hey girl, like, you need to sort of correct this or shift this, or, show up for yourself in this way better, create a better boundary. That the things now have become a little bit more like of a battering ram, which if we have not adjusted flow, heard the call, and really leaned into what we are meant to be doing right now. And there's something about the energy of this week in particular, and August in general, right? We just had the Lionsgate. I'm not a big astrologer either. It's not my like major gift, but this month has been a massive portal. And essentially what I was shown that this week in particular, I woke up on Monday and I was like, ooh, I was like, everything feels real different. Like I had a bunch of really amazing things come out. I had a podcast that had literally been on my dream list. You as well, you fall
Oh.
into this category. Two interviews this week, one with you, one on another show, that had, I told my publicist at the beginning of this year that I had really wanted to be on this show. And then a couple of months ago, it just unfolded. And then one of the interviews went live this week. That kind of magnitude where it's like, holy F, like buckle up, girlfriend. Like everything is just continuing to like shift and change. And really, so basically what I'm seeing for this week is like, this is a week where all of the work that every one of us who has shown up on the journey in such a powerful and profound way, you, me, everyone, whoever, people with us live, people who find us at any time, right? Because time is circular, not a line. So but this is like a really big week for just like catapulting all of us into the future version of who have already created everything we've dreamed of. And yet I have crazy chills. And from a human perspective, right? It's kind of exhausting. Like I feel tired. I'm not like necessarily looking as like sort of fresh, crisp, and like it's a lot to integrate, right? To be like, oh, this is amazing. Everything feels like it's really coming together in this cool new way. And also, from a human perspective, to integrate that level, that order of magnitude, essentially. It,
Yeah. Life is full of this thing, it's all paradox, which of course it is, because first of all, that's what we see as building blocks of matter. Is an atom has proton, neutron, and electrons. So like the proton and neutrons, excuse me, the proton and electrons are basically a paradox. And then there's a neutron that's
Mhm.
neutral. And so that's what we're invited to do. See the mess, see the advancement, and be neutral yet. You know what I mean? And it's, I find lately, and I'll probably talk about this if you listen to the audio version of this, I might expand on this a little bit more. The most One of the most important things, one thing that we can do is, being kind to ourselves, being gentle to ourselves, giving ourselves grace, and yet at the same time being okay with the fact that we will make mistakes. I talk to my students and clients about meditate, be mindful of the fact that you have at your disposal at any time the opportunity to make amends and to atone. I can say, "Oh, okay, I see what I did. I see how I missed the boat there," or I was I was selfish in that moment, and and I didn't quite I wasn't as generous. I was in some kind of fear response. I'm sorry, and atonement. How can I make up the energy that I took more of? How can I do that so I can make amends, say I'm sorry? And by the way, in psychology, in the parent-child relationship, there's this empathic attunement, which grows the child and grows the relationship, but there will be ruptures to that attunement because mom and dad aren't perfect, and child is also not perfect in what we can't possibly perceive everything correctly. There will be a rupture, and as long as there is a repair, then there's so much more growth. It's almost like rupture and repair is an important part of growth, because if there was perfect attunement with child all the time, child wouldn't become autonomous. Child wouldn't be able to develop her own identity. So then take that out into our world now. Our attunement with life, our attunement with spirit, with our guides, with God, however you look at it, we will miss that with our partners, with our friends, with our clients. We will miss the mark sometimes. That's literally what sin means. It's a word from archery, meaning missing the mark. It's not about being a bad person. But when we believe that, we don't have the opportunity. Like sin means miss the mark. That's what it means. It's from archery. I missed the mark. But guess what? There's
What?
a
Oh my
mistake
God.
means there's another take. So if we make amends, we grow and we repair, then we can keep moving forward. We don't have to be afraid of making mistakes. Sorry, I'll let you talk because you're excited about sin, I think, right?
No, I am just, my mind is blown because I call myself a forever green nerd, because I love etymology. I love
I
like
do too. I love
language. Oh my
etymology.
God. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm like, oh, did you know the root of this word? And people are like,
I
okay,
do that.
dorko. Like,
Because it's organic, it's not a mistake. They are thought forms that we have curated in a sublimated way a lot of the time, but I love to say I redeem words because we only have so many. So, like, I went through a process of not liking the word God because it meant something in a certain dogmatic context, but I was like, "But I want it back for me." You know what I
yes.
mean? Like, so anyway, yes, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. So, yeah, sin comes from, it comes
Wow.
from archery, to miss the mark.
Wow. And what a right? What a different way to perceive. I often I love, first of all, I love knowing that because I did not know that was the root of the word sin. Like, whoa. What a radical mind. And this is also, you guys, just I think the way that you just explained that, Tricia, that's literally a mindset shift, right? Like,
It
I feel like
is.
there's sort of like this idea, like a lot of jargon that gets thrown around in like the spiritual or coaching word, and people are like, what is a mindset shift? That literally right there, to reframe a mistake, a sin, and reframing it in your own brain from something that was like a tragedy, it means something about you, it means that you're not good enough, or that you're not worthy, or that you're not like, you don't deserve or belong, or whatever the thing are, right? That like we all sometimes
It
go
means
into those feelings.
basically death. It means death
Yeah.
to us somehow, which
Right.
is not, obviously,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah.
no, no. And it's like really the way that people succeed in this world, in this life, in any capacity, is to just pick yourself up, dust off, and keep on going. Because
Mhm.
when I notice this a lot, especially in like the entrepreneurial space, but also with people's spiritual practice, that people are like, oh, I tried to meditate, or I started my business, I launched this thing, and it was crickets and nothing worked. And it's like, that's kind of how things are sometimes. And those are not meant to stop you from continuing forward. They are meant to give you an opportunity to like reflect in on how you can show up differently, and to reframe that idea of sin, to be like, wow, I'm literally imagining, like an archer with a string bow, and be like,
Yeah.
you literally just pick the bow up and you keep on moving, right? And like,
Mhm.
when you engage in life that way, when you reframe it and you think to yourself, well, wow, every single thing that has ever happened in my life literally happened within for me, even if it looked ugly and messy and stupid, and I have shame and I'm embarrassed and I was a mess, and all the things that we all experience in human form. And then just like, don't let those mean anything about us, and just keep being brave and being like, well, I told one of my friends, it was like, one of my friends who is also a spiritual wizard like you and she put a meme up on Instagram the other day that was so funny, and I responded back, and I told her a joke that one of my guides said to me a couple of years ago when I was having, quite frankly, a very, very challenging time, and I was like having a tantrum in some capacity, and they were like, "Are you a wizard or are you a weenie?" And I was like, "Oh, can't I be both?" Like,
I don't know, what time is it? Ask me in an hour. Who knows?
ask me in an hour. Right, exactly. Like right now, it's anybody's best guess. Like, I think that that's like I love to talk about this stuff too, because like I have, a sort of verifiable, like brilliant spiritual IQ. I went through a psychological profile a couple of years ago where the woman who facilitated it was like, you have the highest level of spiritual intellect that like someone can have in human form. That's so cool.
Cool.
Wow, isn't that amazing? Whoa, like, oh my God, it's so amazing. And also,
Can I put that in my bank account?
can I put that in my bank account? B, it makes me a little bit of like connected to that. I have a very high level of altruism. Even when people are absolute knuckleheads, I can see bad, whatever the thing is, I can still see their like divine. I can see the thing that made them, that source created them to do. And so it's been a journey for me. And like, I have all this spiritual intellect. I love that. Can I put that in my bank account? I'm going to use that one going forward. I'll make sure to always give you credit for it. But right, like there are these ways where I feel like for people like you and I to have these conversations, because you also, I know that you have a brilliant fucking spiritual, and I'm sorry to just have
That's
sworn
okay. No, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They put an explicit on my podcast a long time ago. Yeah.
You also, right? Because I can see like you know this about yourself. You were also, whoa, like so brilliant in that way. And then it's like we all have the thing about us that's brilliant. All of us do, whatever it is, whether it's spiritual gifts, art, music, magic, sports. Maybe you're the best parent. Maybe you're the best cat mom. Like we all have something that we're genuinely gifted at, that we're meant to share with the world. But the journey of being able to articulate that can take time. And a lot of people like you and I too, that I see, and I see this with my clients, and I'm sure you do too, that we're often the people who are meant to really spiritually awaken other people and hold that sort of space as like a guide and a facilitator. We often have a lot of very complex, especially intergenerational trauma that we have to grapple with and move through. And it's like a catalyst, I think, in some ways. Like I want so badly for the world to I don't want anyone to experience adversity and trauma. But on the other hand, it does really help to keep us sharp and present. And it does something, especially with spiritual gifts, where it does help you to remember some very big truths about yourself. If you can like use it as an opening, as opposed to having it like, it's a little bit of it's a delicate dance, because it's like, can you just keep moving through it, sort of like that eye of the needle metaphor in the Bible? Or, sometimes it can like really drag people down, but it's about how we choose to continue to like love ourselves, essentially.
Yeah, it's so true. I think well, this was an angelic sign. In my morning meditation, I was like asking about like continuing, you know what I mean? Like, should I not continue? And the message that I got was, just keep going, persevere. This is a lifelong relationship. I got in the car, and the song that was on the radio started from the very beginning to I get in the car, and it's like the first note, the Eagles in the long run.
Oh my God, Spirit, always like wildly on the nose. They're like, yes, and we have a song for you that we're just going to put on right now. Perfect.
And just in case you want to stop listening, here's a song for you. We're going to make it in the long run. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be running anyway. May as well, in the long run, what am I going to, in 10 years from now, if I am alive, if I'm dead, then it's not a problem. But if I am alive,
literally,
I'm alive.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing, So why not continue to, do anyway? So, can you tell us all about money, magic, and miracles? Specifically, why is money? Ugh, why is it? Ugh, I got this. And some that's not the only thing, but sometimes it can be a really a sticking point. How come money in your guidance and in your ability to mentor us, how come it is a place that is so hard to let be spiritual, let be joyful, let be easy, wherever you want to go with that? Tell us how to make money also magical and miraculous.
I love this so much. This is like one of my absolute, and you're asking this question, and I just like organically, I have all these little things, and for those of you who are
Mm.
listening and can't see it, but I've got this silver coin, which is a Canadian, I think it's a $50. Anyway, so I have this in my hand while we're talking about it to help anchor into the
Love it.
frequency of
Yeah.
money, magic, and miracles. And to me, so my parents met as peace activists, and
Can they put
my
that in their bank? I would see
yeah,
peace
can they
activists, not
oh
so
my
many of
god.
the coins.
Not so many of the coins, right? And like the lens through which they related to money, my own family is very complex. Like at one time, one side of my family had a ton of money, which they lost essentially from my perception, and chaotic sort of mess of intergenerational trauma, right? Which actually I think happens to a lot of people. And the reason I tie all these threads sort of in is because to me, one of the big reasons why money is so challenging is because on this planet for such a long time, money was used to control people, right? It was
Yeah.
used as a means of oppression and complexity and we look around at everything, and you and I are hyper conscious people. We are both stewards. We both have this really unique capacity to be able to see, like, I think, bigger pictures and bigger frequencies. And to me, it makes perfect sense that people struggle to be able to feel safe with money, to feel comfortable receiving it, and to feel like they can find a way to use the unique frequency that they were created by source to hold for the collective, to be able to use those gifts in a way that feels comfortable, because there's a lot of noise that comes from sort of the top down. If we think about the
Mhm.
political systems, the religion, all of the systems, essentially education, all of that creates this really intense, very messy narrative that's tied into all of the ways that money was used as like a power grab and a form of oppression. And I really believe that people like you and I coined this term a long time ago, because I've always been being shown by my team of guides this window of time we're moving through. And I always called this the economy of generosity, what we're moving into. And
I
that is
I just have to tell you, I have been in a romance with generosity lately, so
oh,
keep
oh my
continue.
God. It's so powerful, because this is the thing, is like ultimately energy is literally just an energy of
Mhm.
love, freedom. And it's like all of us who are being called to start to go inward, do all this spiritual work. I really believe that one of the biggest ways that we're going to fix the problems that we see on this planet is by, in a lot of ways, extracting ourselves from those systems and saying, you know what? People of good hearts and minds, whatever it is that you're up to on this planet, if you are a steward, if you are here, if you listen to Charmed Life ever, you are someone who's really meant to like anchor into that frequency. And what I'm always shown is that as people like us, as the listeners of this show, find a way to really heal their relationship with money, our relationship with money, start to realize that, yes, all of that complex history of oppression, of colonialism, of really violent, just
Mhm.
ugly, essentially distortion of what money really is, which was, again, which is really just a frequency from source, like a means of being able to find impact and freedom and build a legacy. The more all of us who are stewards can make peace with and heal our relationship with money, the more we have access to resources to then be able to go out and be generous. In my life, I've always dreamed, literally since I was a kid. I was like such an epic always a weirdo with like my vision and my dreams. But I remember being a kid and like honestly having a dream that I would be able to build a philanthropic empire. Like I
Oh,
want to be
yeah.
able to have a foundation someday where I literally give joy grants to people, big and small projects around the world. You want to do a mural project with your kids, you want to buy hundreds of acres of, land and build a fruit farm and a forest that people can come and, like I have a really big vision. And in order to do that, quite frankly, I need a lot of money. Right. And so
Yeah.
I was called in my own life to really heal all kinds of stuff that followed through my family for generations, and just be able to say, you know what? Money is actually literally just love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's food, it's shelter, it's a mother's
Yeah.
caress. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sustenance.
Yeah, it's sustenance. It's a capacity for us to be able to
We can
have
take
more.
it back. We can
Yeah,
redeem it. We can take it back from how it has been used as though it's not love.
yeah. And I love how you were talking earlier about that idea of like reclaiming the word God,
Mhm,
right? It's like
mhm.
we get to reclaim what money really is and then use it to create whatever it is that we have a vision for ourselves,
Yeah.
for our families, for our communities, for the planet at large. And then as we do that, as the stewards of good hearts and minds and love and these vibrations of courage and just like literal restorative justice, as we start to embody these things in our own life, it's so wild to see how I really believe that everything we're doing now on earth also has a massive cosmic ripple, right? Like if
Absolutely.
we,
Yeah.
as we restore justice on earth, oh my God, I have crazy chills again. And it's 2:34 on August 24th. So we're in like a funny, like number thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we do this, that's to me, it's a real inside job also. I think that I'm
Yeah.
not saying that things like, again, my parents were peace activists. I was literally out on the street from the time I was in the womb marching for justice.
Oh,
And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that, but to me at this point, if that way of moving through space and time would have worked, I think it already would have. And it's not that I'm saying that I don't want people out there being courageous, speaking their truth, but to me at this point, it's really an inside job. Like, what can
yeah.
I do in my own life that, like Gandhi, which
Mhm.
he may or may not have actually said this based on the quote, but the quote we attribute to him of, the be the change that you wish to see in the world. That to me is lit. And the more we can heal our relationship with money, good people can consciously build wealth, which is, again, it's a journey, right? A lot is required of each of us in order to do that. But as someone who has gone from being disabled by chronic nerve pain, who struggled with PTSD, anxiety, depression from the time I was a small child, and also had massive deep vision and psychic gifts, and was a clear channel from the beginning. I used to channel light language as a little kid, and I
Oh,
like
they're cute.
used it to talk to animals and plants and my guides and galactic energies and all kinds of stuff. So I've always been on that path in some ways, but the more each of us can also, on the note of, spiritual gifts, and I always call our spiritual gifts our greatest currency.
Mhm. Mm.
And
Oh,
to me, that's how you get there.
and it's a current. It runs on a current.
Oh, I love,
Currency.
oh, I
Ugh,
love that.
ugh, ugh.
I love talking to you so much. I know you're wise, but it's just like so fun.
It's alive. Currency. It's alive. It's a wave. It's frequency. Yeah. Uh, and so I had some dark night stuff going on. I had some
Mhm.
dark hours and nights. And there's this one psychic who I work with a couple times a year. I do a 30-minute reading with her. I love her so much. The name of her, it's like Snake and Wild Roots. That's how you can find her. Anyway, she's two times and they were apart. And I was really healing from something challenging. And so in both of these sessions, which she doesn't remember, we meet on the phone too. I was like, okay, she does tarot. What about money? How do I work my finances? And she pulled both times I can hear her pulling the card and she said the almost identical thing. Your money's fine. She's got an Australian accent. Sorry, I shouldn't do her accent. But I'm like have her in my head. Your money's fine. There's nothing wrong with your money. You still need to keep healing from these things. And I like this toxic relationship I had exited and everything. Not my husband, by the way. I always have to say it. It sounds like I'm talking about a person. Not my husband. He's like, thank you for saying that. I tell him I say it. Anyway, a toxic relationship I exited was still healing from that. And that was a pattern. And she's like, you just need to keep healing from that. You're projecting that hurt onto your money. And she's like, because the work that we do, it's very intimate. And so you're projecting that on the money so that you can heal the inside job you're talking about. And I was like, and the second time that I did it, I got the same thing. And I was like, and I know that. And there was a moment where I was about to choose to be frustrated and say, I'm trying. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'm in the current of it. I'm doing it. It's happening. And I'm well, by the way, I'm not on the street. I am fine. I haven't hurt anyone in the process of me moving through this healing that I'm doing. And so, but I think that's it too, is like, let yourself be in the process. That's that grace thing. Let yourself be resilient and let yourself be tolerant of these things we're moving through. Yeah. It isn't death.
No.
When the nervous system dysregulates, it feels like it's death. But then we are being called to regulate our nervous system primarily. And that's the gift that we give to ourselves first.
Yeah.
It's really so simple, but it feels like it's not. No, I can't breathe right now is what the body is saying. I can't breathe right now. I don't have time to breathe. That's never true. That's never accurate.
No, literally never. But you're right. It can feel that way. And when we're, especially when people are in the like throes of the, I often think of, sort of the act of like clearing all that stuff, right? Retuning your frequency, moving out of that like panic state where you're like, I don't even have time to breathe, don't have time to talk, don't have time to do anything, because you're like, I'm being crushed to death by the weight of my own emotions.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and the future that I'm trying to predict, the negatively biased future. Yeah.
I've created this really dramatic story in my own head about like why nothing works and why it never did and like whatever the thing is. And it's kind of like I use this I don't know, like description often. It's like all of us when we get into human form, it's like we inherited a beautiful old mansion, but the beautiful old mansion is like full of all kinds of stuff from your ancestors and previous generations, and there's like a lot of maybe dusty furniture that you bought 10 years ago that doesn't really like quite resonate with who you are, and so in order to be able to bring the house, right, in this case it's like our human body and our soul, in order to bring it back to like balance and essentially to restore justice and order in our own house, right? We have it's a little bit of a thing. You need to do a deep clean. As you start to pull out those things that you don't want anymore, they kick up a lot of dust. And it's like, it is a journey and a process. And part of what I think is such a big struggle, right? When we're all having those moments where we're like, I can't breathe and I'm just literally going to die from the way of being a person, which can feel like a real thing, then it's like a real invitation for us to be like, okay, how can I just forgive myself, make peace with this, and also be aware of the fact that sometimes stuff does feel brutal, right? The healing journey is not, I am not the kind of spiritual mentor, and I've said this about myself for a long time, like there are people out there, and this is not to like throw shade on anybody, but when people start to work with me, I really make it as clear as I possibly can that yes, you're going to start to align with a level of cosmic magic that you've likely never experienced, and your life is going to go through a big old shakeup. Because when you say bravely, courageously, with a lot of bravado to the world, well, world, I want my life to be totally different, and I want the money, I want the miracles, I want to heal and start to align and live in this like place of balance as much as I possibly can, the world is like, we got you, girl, and also you got a dusty mansion full of garbage, and we're gonna really it's time to get correct.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would let everyone know this has been so amazing, and we got to do this more often. It's only
Yes,
this is only the
please.
second time.
Oh my
You have a
God.
podcast, right? Do you have a podcast yourself?
It's being launched / later
Okay.
this year, beginning of next.
Mhm.
But you were on my list of people that
Oh,
I would
thank
love
you.
to interview.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you so
because
much. But you're on a
your
lot of
journey
podcasts,
is so
so that's great.
interesting. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I know we need to wrap it up, but and I will
Oh,
tell everybody where to find me, but it's very interesting because you and I talked about human design the
yes.
last time.
I wanna
And
look at your chart. I think I look at it before? I wanna look at it again, but go ahead. Yeah.
I'm a 5/1 self-projected projector, which is like apparently a very rare kind of projector. Like it's like 2% of the people on
Yeah.
Earth. And I know you're a reflector, right? So that's
And
even
I'm
it's
a
like
5/1,
1%,
and
right?
I'm a 5/1.
Oh, and you're a 1, right? I forgot about that. So like we were really meant, right, to like really like guide and shift things for people. Now I don't even remember why I was bringing that up. So I'll just get to the point that I'll just get to your question, which is, um, but the voice, the literal tone of my voice is when people are meant to be activated by me, it's like you just know, and it doesn't make sense, and don't overthink it and don't question it, guys. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what that wackadoo is talking about, but I want to be part of it, that is literally the call to action for you, because with my voice especially, it's a real like trigger of remembrance, essentially, like trigger in a good way, where it's like,
Mhm.
don't overthink it. So find me in all the places. I'm on Instagram a lot, at C Witchery. My website is weareheretoremember.com. I have, there are all kinds of different fun ways to jump into my world, but I have an awesome freebie called the Money Magic and Miracles Money Magic and Miracles activation bundle. So that's a great way. And then I have a group class called Cosmic Alchemy Academy coming up. And I have an event. I do like live healing events every couple of months that are always so fun. Ooh, I had lit a candle for us right before we started. It just went out, which was kind of
Nice.
cool.
I
This
saw
is
the smoke.
you
Yeah.
saw this, yeah. And that is called Revolution of Love. So if people are like, oh, I want to like, sort of dip my toe in and know more about how this magic works, sign up for Revolution of Love. I use during these events, I share the modality that I use with my clients to help them catapult so wildly into that frequency of money, magic, and miracles. And it works just as well in a group. And it's only $77. And you get
Oh, I love
two
it.
live events with me where I literally share the modality. So it's like a lot of bang for the buck.
That's the thing right now, isn't it? A lot of bang for the buck. It's what we need right now.
Yes.
That's what I've been doing lately.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. No, I love it. I wanna look at your chart more, in more detail, because that means your identity center is connected to your throat. Yes, that's what we have here. Do you
Yeah.
have, is your head and ajna, are they defined, either one of them?
No.
Do you have just one channel?
Wait,
Do you have 2
sorry.
chakras, please?
I'm sorry. Yes. I meant to say yes to not no. It's the both. It's
Both
the,
of them, and then your
yeah.
throat, and then your identity center. So you got this little line here, and so it is your direction and love, and that has so much to do with money. That is what your voice, that's what your throat, your manifestation is giving us. So no wonder. I love it. And then the 5/1 connection too. We are here to innovate and disrupt. Ah.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Oh, we are. And we are here to remember, as your tagline, as your website says. So thank you so much for coming on. We seriously, we should do some more collaboration, because
Please.
I love this. We should do a co-channeling event.
Oh my God. I would love that. I would love that. Yes. So guys, that's coming soon.
That's happening. So that's happening. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. Everyone, this is Andrea Donnelly. Thank you for being on, and I look forward to all of it. You guys stay tuned to Andrea and to here and to everywhere, because we're going to be doing it. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing in our beautiful world. I appreciate you. Well, that is our podcast, our show today. I just want to remind you to join my newsletter as well. You'll find the link for that. I usually blast this out on my newsletter, and I'm just realizing I didn't, but that is the best place for it. Find me on Instagram, of course. Like, subscribe, share, comment. click the little bell so you get notifications for when we do more of these episodes and other things that I put up on the channel. And, be sure to check out my website. I do have some spaces for one-on-ones for my empathic channeling and hypno healing, for my transpersonal hypnotherapy work. And then my two beautiful offers that I have, the easy intuition and meditation and the empowered empath. And then, of course, the modern mystic portal for you, the membership. So that's what we have for you in this episode. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.